All right, welcome to the Bow Trader Podcast. Whether you're a long-time listener or joining us for the first time, man, I'm glad you're here. My name's John Keene, and I am the founder of Bow Trader, and we're just excited to be able to do this podcast and bring this to you on a weekly basis. You know, on the podcast, we're diving headfirst into the wild world of hunting and the great outdoors. We talk about all kind of different things, whether it's tracking and scouting tactics or just cutting up and telling silly tales and stories about things that we've gotten into when we've been out there trying to do some hunting. But we're always focused on the beauty of God's creation. From gear reviews and how to practice to finally making it to that awesome thwack of fall, buddy, we are here for it. Our faith is woven into every episode with real, down-to-earth discussions because it's not just about the hunt. It's truly about what matters most. So grab your gear, settle in, get you a cup of coffee, and let's get after it.
Make it happen.
There you go. It's good stuff.
And we're live.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. So, be good this morning. I want you to share with us the thing you were watching the other day.
No.
Yeah, be good.
We shouldn't do that.
Be good. Not that show.
Oh.
Not that.
No, I want to hear about the show. What's the show?
Yeah. He tried to watch the show Tracker on
Reacher. Tracker's
Reacher.
awesome.
Yeah, Tracker's awesome.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, I'm not a TV guy.
Yeah.
I'll watch football.
I was going to say sporting events, but yeah.
Outside of that, I really don't care. But there's this one show that I've been watching with Dub, and it's actually pretty good.
Hey, Mom.
So
I'm like,
I have to check it out.
the last time I did something like that, Netflix bought the rights to the show or something,
Dude,
and they completely
thing with
ruined the show.
it was Designated Survivor,
Yes.
man.
Yeah.
First 2 seasons, I'm like, this is the best thing ever.
And then
Netflix
the
gets it, I'm
first
like,
episode-
I'm not watching this trash.
Dude, like in the first 5 minutes, or in the first couple minutes, somebody dropped the F-bomb, and I was like,
Wait, this is different.
I said,
Wait a second.
did I just hear that? It was like, that was weird.
There are a lot of other things in there too. that
And
I
then,
was like, I'm not watching.
yeah. And then it went like, within the first 5 minutes, it showed this scene in the White House, and there was this new, chief of staff or whatever. And man, he was lighting somebody up. I was like, what? I paused it. And I was like, what has happened to my show?
Yeah.
Script is
But yeah, it was
Yeah.
like just completely just an about face as far as, kind of what was acceptable or whatever. And I looked into it, and sure enough, CBS wasn't doing it anymore. It was now a Netflix thing.
I mean, CBS is such a strong, upstanding network.
Exactly.
Right.
that
Yeah.
you
It was just,
really
it
appreciate
was originally
the purity.
right. It was just originally made for TV, and then Netflix got a hold of it, and they made it for Netflix.
Yeah.
And Netflix is kind of it's just a different platform.
Yeah,
It's
totally
just you can do whatever you want to
That's
on there,
crazy.
just about. So, anyhow, but yeah, so we'll not that show. But all right, so we got Jase Brooks in here with us this morning.
morning. How are y'all?
There we go. All right, so we're going to be talking about land management and everything that goes along with that today. And Brandon and I thought, if we're going to talk about that, who better than good old Jase Brooks
Hey, I appreciate that. It means a lot.
to get in here and lay down some wisdom for us. So
That's what it's all about.
So if you don't know Jase, he is about 9 feet tall. He's definitely bulletproof. And
That part's true.
yeah.
Yeah, 9 foot, not so much. Maybe in spirit, but in heart. But
There you go. Now tell us a little bit about you.
yeah,
Jase.
absolutely. So, grew up in just outside of Marietta, Georgia, Powder Springs to be exact.
Bless you.
Yeah, no, Metro. We'll call it. Well, now it's Metro Atlanta. It used to just be the sticks a little bit, but grew up there. Went up to Swanee, University of the South, played college football, and got a forestry degree.
And disclaimer, Murr is here again this morning.
We got heavy breathing.
We
going
got a
on.
really hot chick in here breathing in the microphone.
Just breathing. Then went to University of Georgia, got a graduate degree in forest business. In between that, kind of bounced around and did some forest management. I was telling Brandon this morning, went out, lived in Northern California for a little bit, Mobile, Alabama, and then took a job after grad school in Tuscaloosa, and then got transferred to the borough and been here since. And worked for a big company, and March 17th will be 2 years for Brooks Land and Timber, which is exciting and pretty
That's awesome,
unreal.
man.
So yeah, that's a little bit about myself. I've got a beautiful wife and 2 kids, a 2.5-year-old and a
Toughest
8-month-old.
2.5-year-old in the world, man.
He's a
Coolest
stud.
kid.
He's a stud for sure. He'll be on here, I'm sure, soon. He is talking full sentences and having a blast. So
I bet.
yeah.
I will say this one disclaimer about Jase. Quickest feet I've ever seen on a human being. We played church league softball together, and he'd be out there getting warmed up, and I swear it's like he was doing some kind of Celtic dancing, and it was some kind of warm up he learned in football, I think.
That's
and I was
right.
like, how is his feet moving that fast?
Just some fast twitch.
I would have tore ACL if I tried to do that. And so
I had to compensate for being 5'8", 185 pounds as a running back in college. So now you gotta have something that makes up for it. So
yeah, it was great, man. That was a
Good
lot of fun
times.
until I got too old.
yeah, it'll happen. It'll happen. But yeah, that's a little bit about myself. We're right slap in the middle of burn season. So after I leave here, we got about, and I say I've got a forest technician, Joseph Lomax, that's working with me, and we've got about 100-acre tract over in Emmanuel County we'll be burning today. It's like a 2-mile-an-hour wind, and relative humidity is down to like 25%. So it should be a good, spicy, kind of low, slow day.
Yeah, I'm planning to burn this afternoon.
Good.
So
Good. It'll be a good day to get some leaf litter
I've
consumed.
been watching the forecast, and it's like originally it said that the humidity was going to be like 38, and I was like, it's going to be way lower.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, midday. I actually took
like
a
2 o'clock or something.
I took a picture of it. It was it's going to be spicy. Luckily, I mean, with a 2-mile-an-hour wind, you're going to be okay. Let's see, relative humidity. It's going down to like 26% at 4 p.m. So it would be a good one if you took a long lunch and then started a fire around 1 o'clock. You could roll it into the evening and have some success with it. So
yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. So what humidity are you looking for to burn?
Yeah. So really, I mean, burning in general is just an incredible tool. It's a very affordable tool. You can cover more ground than you could doing something mechanical. And it's very, very cost effective. If your goal is good fuel consumption, the lower the humidity, the better. So not only do you have relative humidity, which is atmospheric humidity, you've got 1 hour fuels and 10-hour fuels. And that is the moisture that is in, again, the fuels that are on the floor. And the consumption, the lower that humidity is in those, obviously it's like firewood. After you have a rain on some firewood and you stick it on the fire, it's just going to smoke and it's not really going to burn or consume. Whereas you got that firewood that's been south facing on just direct sunlight and it's dry, that thing will get consumed within no time. So, so humidity is a big thing, and a lot of people, they'll look at it a little bit, but really that's kind of what you're looking for if your goal is full consumption. So
I love how detailed Jase is. He's like, so if your firewood's south facing, like, I'm never going to get firewood and be like, I'm going to get the south facing firewood.
I guess I'm weird like that because
It's
I
not weird.
Stuff
It's
like
just
that.
a lot of knowledge, man. You just know a lot about that stuff, so it just cracks me up.
Well, it's because I have a firewood pile that is south facing, so I know it's extra crispy.
That's awesome,
even
man.
if it has
Extra crispy.
crispy.
And maybe spicy too.
That's right.
Yeah, that's good. So, I mean, I read something this week. I wish I'd have saved this, but I read something this week about some research that was done about how we use fire in our country now, and it looked
don't.
Yeah.
Well, so it looked at fire rings on trees.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, they were going and taking samples. I'll think of who it was in a second. I'll pull it up. But it was this since 1990, there has been such a drastic change. Like you saw one like in the 1980s, you saw we were still very active in burning. And then like in the 90s, it just dropped off. And, why is that? I mean, in your view, I mean, you're living this every day.
For sure. So Smokey the Bear was probably the worst thing to happen for fire in general.
Uh-oh.
So sorry about you if you're a big Smokey the Bear guy.
Let's take him out.
Yeah, that's right. So Smokey the Bear, I mean, it's a cute, cuddly bear that says only you can prevent wildfires. Well, no, the U.S. government prevents wildfires because as soon as a fire happens, the first thing they do is try to suppress it. Well, over the historical landscape, I mean, we had Native Americans and we have natural lightning fires that take place, and we are in a fire-dependent ecosystem here in the Southeast. And like I said earlier, lived in Northern California, and that's an extremely fire-dependent ecosystem with 90% of their trees over there are an evergreen conifer tree, and that type of tree species, it is fire. If you've ever lit pine straw, it catches fire and it carries fire. So when you've got propaganda or something that's created that talks about fire bad, that kind of, and you're raised in that environment, obviously everyone looks at it as a bad thing. Now with that said, moving into now where we are now, the last, I feel like 10, 15 years, people are looking at the research, looking at historical norms and saying, oh, wow, actually fire is a really good management tool. And here are the many scientific benefits of it. So fortunately, I think we're gaining steam. I mean, here locally in Statesboro, I mean, it's not uncommon. I mean, to have 2 or 3 fire plumes in the area of people putting fire on the ground. So it's a breath of fresh air, and there ain't nothing better than smelling a fire. I mean, I love the smell of a campfire, and I was smelling it earlier. I got all my like heavy shirts that I wear during burning, I always smell like smoke this time of year. So, but yeah, that would be the thing, is like early 80s, 90s, and I mean, honestly, early 2000s, fire was still kind of looked at as negative. Like I said, because of Smokey the Bear, and the first thing you want to do is put out a fire. But realistically, it's good to have fire keep rolling on the landscape. So that'd be kind of my 2 cents on that.
Yeah.
I always knew there was something I didn't like about him.
Yeah, he's a little questionable.
Yeah.
A little shady.
Shady, little sketch. Yeah.
Sorry, Smokey. I always thought you were cool, man.
Yeah, that little green hat.
Yeah,
it's too small for his head.
Well, he doesn't have a shirt on too. Like, what are you doing? Like, you flexing on us? Like,
I know,
come on.
right? Like, it's almost like a threat.
Exactly.
Right? It's like, you start a fire, I'm coming after you.
Oh my God!
I got this shovel.
This is
Bad
great.
things will happen.
That's right. Great. Not only will I hit you with it, I will bury you with it.
That's right. Oh man,
this is great. I mean, you just took such a weird turn.
Yeah.
I'm just a weird dude, man.
Oh my goodness! All right, so I mean, so you think that it was a perception of
Absolutely
if fire is good or bad is what caused the decline of using fire as a tool.
I do. I really do. And I think there's, like regionally, it's probably a little different. Like out West, I mean, they have wildfires, and we hear about them all the time, like the most recent one. And I mean, those are catastrophic events. Like when you have over 4,000 or 5,000 houses getting burnt to an absolute just paper and ash, like that is hard to see. But as unfortunate as it is, like all of that is preventable to an extent. Like putting fire on the landscape, having active forest management or shrub management in that region. There's not really many trees. It's more just shrub. And again, it's a fire dependent ecosystem. The last fire in that area was in the 60s. So, I mean, that just shows you.
It was just a tinderbox.
I mean, it's just waiting for a spark or a homeless man to light a crack pipe. I hate to say it, but I mean, I lived out there. I experienced it. It is a mess out there from a environment standpoint.
So it's just years of bad management practices.
Yeah, I mean,
or zero management practices.
Zero management. There's regions that have active forest management, and there's thinnings and stuff like that are taking place, and the debris and stuff, or the refuse and all that's kind of it gets taken down just with the management, but just over time. I mean, we've all seen those yard trees that have got 3 foot of pine straw up the base of them, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that if that burns, all that duff layer is putting heat directly on the root system.
Yeah, it's going to kill
what's that tree going to do? It's going to die.
Yeah. And then next time fire comes through, that tree's going to burn.
Yeah, and then throw an ember half a mile down the road. Yeah, exactly.
Man, I learned this the hard way. So when we lived out in Middle Ground, I was just cleaning the yard one day. Susan and I we didn't even have kids at this point. This is how young we are. And so we're like 25 maybe. And so I'd been burning the yard. Well, burned down along the back of our fence, and I didn't know it. But at some point they had like a flower bed back there. And so there had just been layers and layers of pine straw. So I burned it that night. I set a sprinkler on it just to I just didn't want it to catch back up. And went out next morning, cut it off. We go to church, come back, get home about 1 o'clock, lay on the couch, take a nap. We're both laying there sound asleep. Somebody knocks on the door. It's our neighbor. He's like, I don't know if you know it or not, but your backyard's on fire.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, nah, I didn't know it. Like, I turn around and look, and we had French doors out the back. And I look, and there are literally flames going up these huge pine trees. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Oh, no.
And so I take off out the back door, and I yell to Susan, I'm like, grab me some shoes, because I'm in a white T-shirt, shorts, no shoes. I look, one of our other neighbors is coming across there putting together hoses. Pipes, and so we get down there. Susan brings me bedroom shoes, like moccasin slippers. And so I put them on. I jump the fence. As soon as I jump the fence, a hot cold goes down in my shoe, and I'm hopping on 1 foot. Believe it or not, we were able to contain it enough that it did go out. That's and awesome. Thankfully, we didn't burn down Middle Ground. But yeah, that had been sitting there. I had soaked it, but it had burned down. Yep. We had a decent wind, just a good breeze that day, and it rekindled that fire.
Grief, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I will say, I mean, fire is definitely something that is a very useful tool, but if done improperly, it can get spicy quick. Yeah. So yeah, there's if you burn enough, it's about like you hear when if you turkey hunt enough, you're gonna miss a turkey. If you burn enough, one's gonna get out on you at some point, and just because there's so many variables, wind and like we're talking about duff, that it just sits there holding an ember, and all it takes is wind to shift or the next day type deal. And
it's no fun when one gets out.
No, it's not. It's not.
I haven't had a fire get out in over 20 years, but when it did happen, it was not fun.
It's a very memorable experience.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you're scrambling and you're trying to figure out, what do you do? Where do you head this thing off at?
Yeah, you're first praying, dear Lord, please don't let this turn into a head fire to wherever destination it's going.
Right.
Yeah.
Just be a slow trickle on a backfire, please.
Yeah. It was a definite panic, man. I was like, oh my gosh.
That feeling is not fun. Absolutely not.
So
it's crazy. That is nuts.
Good times.
Just add that to my list.
Yeah, that's
stupidity. You know,
it happens. It happens.
So we talk about that fire's not used that much anymore, or it's not used. Yeah, it's not used that much as compared to how it was used
historically. Yeah,
and you said that you think part of it is, just the perception, the perceived value of fire. If it's something that's good for the environment or dangerous or whatever has created that that perception or that belief, I guess. But one of the things that I look at is I think that some of the forestry equipment that's available now, you don't have to keep your forest floor clean anymore for somebody to walk through and cruise and somebody to walk through and cut trees down.
Yeah. I was with a gentleman yesterday in Toombs County, just north of Vidalia, and he got absolutely blasted by the hurricane, and it's terrible to see. He had 160 acres, and it hadn't been touched since the hurricane, and it's pick up sticks. And just talking with him, talking about how his dad owned that land, and 40, 50 years ago, it was no thing for them on a weekend, just go burn off the understory. He said they would do it every year, every other year. And he's like, to be honest, it hadn't seen fire in 20 plus years. And just walking around, I mean, every step's crunch.
Oh, yeah.
And you got these trees everywhere, and it's like, holy smokes. I mean, at one point it was a norm, but it's not anymore. And he straight up, he was like 75-year-old. And he's like, to be honest, I'm pretty scared.
Yeah.
I'm just scared of fire. I said, I understand. I said, in the right environment, it's somewhat controlled, but you've only got so much control of your environment. So, but yeah, that was an example. I mean, just yesterday, running up on something, you could tell that at one point that forest was managed properly, but after a 45-year-old loblolly / and longleaf kind of mixed stand that hasn't been thinned. I mean, the visual there is you got very small canopy tops and little twigs sticking around. So just a lot of duff layer, but it doesn't take long. You blink your eyes and you don't manage something. But what you're getting at too, like mulching machines now, a lot of people, I mean, they can just go through understory and just mulch it up now, and it looks good. It keeps all the debris on the ground, so you still have got a lot of residual debris on the ground. And we've got a bunch of companies around here that do that, and that's great. That's an immediate cleaning up of the residual understory debris. But again, it still keeps that stuff on the ground.
Still needs to be burned.
Still needs to be burned off, and I mean, you could just let it kind of decay over time, but it is better to kind of keep that burn off. But we're also in a region where it's not uncommon. If you sat out here in front of the shop, you'd see 20 plus trucks in the next 2 hours with logs on the truck. Mm-hmm. So we're in a region that, I mean, we've got active forest management taking place. So we've got removal of trees from the landscape. Anytime you've got this equipment going back and forth on the ground and stuff like that, you're removing some of these fuels, which makes a fire less intense. Whereas we have other regions like Northeast Georgia, where you've got millions of acres of national forest that they hadn't had a cut down machine up there in 20, 30 years. One, because there's no longer mills up there, but also it's just not, there's not a viable market to take any of the products to, unfortunately.
I don't know if this is true, but something that I read was that one of the reasons there aren't as many deer and other game in North Georgia is because they won't cut. There's no food. Like the canopy's choked out all the food.
If you look at the data, and it's honestly it's mind boggling. So there's less than 1% of the 1 million acres that's up there that's quote unquote early successional habitat, meaning less than 15-year-old stand of wood.
Gotcha.
Less than 1%.
Less than
That's
1%.
crazy.
And honestly, that 1%, there was a tornado that went through up there. I was I was a sophomore at Swanee, and the tornado. It's crazy to think this, but a tornado went from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, the one that tore up.
Oh yeah.
Went through southern Tennessee. I was at Swanee. We had 3 days of no power. I mean, it was blackout for 3 days up there. That same tornado from Tuscaloosa went all the way through Rabun County, Georgia, where my folks have got a lake house up there. And I mean, it tore up some stuff. But with that said, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh. And he created a lot of early successional habitat with that tornado. And it's been really cool to see over the years that is the path that tornado went. That is where all the game is. And it's really cool to see that. So a lot of that, you're 100% correct. We could backtrack a little bit more. And just a little fun fact, there's a American chestnut tree. 2/3 of the forest in the Appalachian Mountains basin was chestnut tree.
Gotcha.
The chestnut that was produced from that, I mean, that is a huge protein packed nutrient thing that all critters, bears, at one time, bison and elk in that region, they used to eat on that. Well, the blight came in and
just wiped it out.
It just wiped it completely out. So not only did a huge food source disappear, but of course then fires off the landscape and all that. So it's not just one thing. You can't ever just point at one thing, but there's a number of things that have caused a decline in those type of regions.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's interesting. So, Jase, you think that it seems to me that burning has become very popular with hunters now.
Absolutely.
So do you think that is something that, I mean, obviously that's increased the desire to burn around here. I mean, I know like you came out and did a management plan for us on our land. And part of that was getting to a place where we could do prescribed burning, which we were a few years away.
Yeah,
because of the size of the pine trees
you got
we
some
had.
pre-merch and stuff that you can't. It would be stand replacing if we put a fire on it today.
Sometimes with the lack of deer we have, it would be let's burn it and start
That's
over.
right. That's right.
But it's but no, I mean, and it was very helpful what you did. But I do know like a lot of people are itching to be able to burn.
For sure.
And they just burned a field all because we see a lot of the fires around here are people burning fields, getting ready to plant. And
That's
all.
right.
They burned the field next to us. One of the fields we don't own around our house. And so, but it was crazy once it cooled off, the amount of just all kinds of game
all over the place
that were in it. I mean, it hadn't even started back turning green
up or anything. Yeah,
they're just out there eating seed and whatever they can find.
If you ever look at it, the amount of bugs like on a field, the amount of bugs that just get burnt to a crisp, like the birds, is a dang magnet.
Gosh.
Turkeys, you name it, they are just all up in there. Little protein packs. I mean, it's perfect little grazing spot for them. So
that's cool. Yeah. I mean, it took like a day or so for it to cool off, and then. I mean, there's dove, there's turkeys, there's all kinds of stuff that are just starting to come in there. And I was double checking the DNR site to see what I could shoot, and there was evidently nothing.
Nothing. Yeah,
nothing.
You got quail season, squirrel and rabbit for the end of we got I guess 2 days left of the February, but you're on the tail end of pretty much everything, but maybe fur bear season.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Oh, well. It'll be back.
That's right. That's right. Well, we'll blink our eyes a couple times. It'll be turkey season. So
that's right. It's almost here.
That's right.
Well, we were talking a little bit this morning about, everybody tells you when you have kids that, you're going to be amazed at how fast they grow up and all this kind of stuff. And everybody's always just like, okay, whatever.
That's right.
Okay. They're going to grow up fast. Well, you're living it now. You see what we've been telling you about.
Thick of it for sure.
I mean, and Brandon, you are too. You felt like people were telling you that, yesterday, and now you got a son getting married in October.
Yeah, I can remember sitting seems like it was yesterday, sitting in the hospital room holding Dake, my oldest son, like 2 days old. And my father-in-law sitting across from me and me looking at him and saying, I'm already dreading him going to college. And he just died laughing. And then when it came time for us to take him to college, like, that was one of the hardest days of my life, man. And I was like, I was at the office at the church. And I just remember, like, going in my bathroom at the office. And I just went ahead and let it out.
Yeah,
I was just like,
weeping.
I mean,
Yeah.
just like
God,
ugly
I can
cry.
only imagine.
Because I'm like, I don't want to do this, in front of him and in front of other people. Yeah. And I get home and I'm watching him and I see him kind of load the final things into his truck. And we're about to drive over and take him. And he's just standing there kind of looking around, kind of like, all right. Not like he wasn't ever coming back. And he walked out there and squatted down and pet his dog one more time. And I was like, oh my gosh, man, you might as well shot an arrow in my heart, man. And so, but it does go fast. But also, like, the seasons go fast. Like, it's already getting close to turkey season. It's already not far from time to start planting for spring stuff.
Absolutely.
And summer. I mean, it's just, the good thing is there's very little time that there's not something you can do 1,000%. If you enjoy the outdoors. So
1,000%. Yeah. It, fortunately, I guess in Georgia, our winters are extremely mild and
Usually,
yeah. We did have snow this year. That was pretty awesome. But yeah, for the most part, there's, like you're saying, there's always something to be done. And that, getting back kind of on prescribed fire, I mean, the other thing we hadn't really talked about is timing of the fire. And my recommendation is always, if you want to burn, do it. And sometimes the easier times of the year to burn is your fall and winter time, just because you've got a little bit more controlled environment.
less green too.
Yeah, less green. That's right. Whereas kind of your growing season burns, so pretty much from now till May, June, those are pretty spicy. But when you have your growing season burns, it really just comes down to what your goals and objectives are. If you haven't ever burnt a track and it's got a lot of duff layer and a lot of stuff, your fall and winter burn is probably better, a more controlled environment. Whereas your growing season burn, you're really going to have an opportunity to neutralize and kill off some hardwoods and some less desirables. So that was just something else I wanted to mention, because timing is everything. And then we talked about earlier with conditions, that also plays a big factor. If we had just had a rain yesterday, obviously you're going to have a heavy dew the next day. So you're going to either have to start later in the day, or you would wait another day to kind of let it dry off. So, but if your goal is to, like, a prime example, like later the week, we're going to burn off a 2-year-old longleaf field. And like right now is a really good time to burn longleaf, like young longleaf, because they haven't budded out. Yeah. So is that terminal bud on a longleaf, I mean, it is a pearly white beauty and huge. But if that thing is starting to bud out, it's susceptible to damage from fire. I mean, the needles are created in a way that the good Lord created where it protects it. But again, timing is everything. If you wait till it buds out, you're obviously more susceptible to dinging those trees up. So right now we're on the front end of that, and those buds are obviously still there, but they're not flushed out and like
they're not standing up.
They're not standing up ready to get
just
neutralized by fire.
Yeah.
So
And you don't want to do that.
No,
because you set yourself back so much. I mean, that's already in the pine tree world. That's already a slow growing
it's
tree.
a snail for
right?
sure.
But it is definitely the best tree if you can handle it.
Yeah.
Right? No, longleaf.
Oh.
You just much more marketable.
Well, and I'll say that
in a lot of different markets you can get into a pine straw market,
within 8-9 years. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's pretty crazy that you're able to do that, and but there again, keeping that fire schedule is a big deal if you want to be harvesting pine straw.
You talk about a lot of fuel on the ground. There's yeah, pine straw operation. I mean, that's the goal of it, is putting a lot of fuel on the ground. And if you're not removing that fuel, I mean, there's some tracks. I mean, an 8-year-old longleaf stand, the first time you rake it, I mean, you rake 2 inches off the top for that really crispy, good looking stuff you see in the landscape. And well, you still got 2 or 3 inches of the brown gray stuff that's just layered up there. So, yeah, so fire is definitely important. I was going to hit back on the longleaf side of things. Like when the crazy thing again, like how the Lord created that tree. I mean, that tree was, I mean, this region was a pine savanna region. So mainly grasslands with, interspersed, longleaf kind of throughout. And just because there was a lot of grazing animals, and I mean, you have Native Americans that actively burn in the landscape. And the Lord created this tree to where when it's in the grass stage, meaning it's between ages 1 and 5 years old, it can stay in this, what is called a grass stage. Well, this time of year, if fire runs through that, pine stand and it kind of activates that tree, and it'll start candling is what it's called, but it'll have a rocket shoot type environment where that tree is a slow grower. But when the fire hits it in the right stage, it'll jump up and grow 3 foot in a season, which is nuts.
Yeah.
So it's just cool to see how, again, fire can be used in a cool and a way that benefits not only you, the landowner, but the tree as well, and the landscape around it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as a hunter and trying to manage game, what are all the benefits of burning?
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a lot of benefits for sure. One would be, I had kind of hit on it earlier on, like the timing of burning. So we've talked about before on this about kind of like mineral sites. Like as a bow hunter, like if you have a bow stand and you go around and you cut a bunch of saplings off at shin high before the season, you'll have a bunch of stump sprouts and coppice that is literally just luscious, good eating stuff for the critters. Well, when you burn on the landscape, a lot of these hardwoods are not as hardy towards fire, so it kind of restarts those areas, and you'll see a lot of stump sprouts. So food source is a big benefit of fire. Yeah. It creates a lot of food on the landscape. And you think about it, a deer, a turkey, a quail, a deer is the tallest one. He's probably 3.5 foot off the ground, and that's where their food source is, 3 foot and down. A quail is, you're talking about centimeters. So when you're thinking about what these critters are eating, you got to think about, okay, when you walk in we keep talking about pine stands. If you're in we'll just say a natural pine hardwood stand. You walk around right now, there's some stuff starting to get a little green, but for the most part, there ain't much going on. Acorns already been ate months ago.
Yeah.
And other than that, there's a couple forbs and stuff like that might be around if we're lucky. But for the most part, it's a Sahara desert out there from a food source standpoint. So burning kind of rejuvenates that understory and creates a buffet. I like to say is it creates a buffet for those critters. So that's one huge benefit for hunters, is creating. We don't have to plow it or do anything like that or put seed in the ground. That natural seed bank is there. Mm-hmm. It's just aggravating the duff layer and getting that bare mineral soil there to create what is already in the soil itself. So
that's good. And you've taught to me and taught me a good bit about like either hinge cutting, different types of things like that. So you're talking a little bit about combining both of those.
Yeah, for the most part, like the goal of the burn I'm doing today, we've done. It's been on a 2-year rotation. It's a 26-year-old loblolly stand that's been first thinned. So it's probably at like 100 basal area, 90 to 100 basal area. It's on good sandy soil, so really doesn't have a lot of sweet gum and stuff like that, but it does have some hardwood component to it that are not desirable. So this guy is a very big turkey hunter and a very big deer hunter. So the goal is right now we're on the front end of turkey season. So he wants a good blacked up, he wants black dirt basically when he's turkey hunting.
Right.
And so the goal for him is making sure he restarts the understory, keeps it clean and clear, but creates a really good huntable ground. But also, I mean, we all know, you burn prior to turkey season or even within turkey season, those birds flock to that area. Yeah. Again, we talked about just the food source that it creates. I mean, it's a magnet. But like the hinge cutting and stuff like that, yeah, that's the mechanical, like type of actually going in and cutting that, whereas the fire is doing that work for you for the most part on a larger scale.
Yeah. What time of year, I was kind of shifting gears a little bit, but what time of year would you recommend doing the hinge cutting or just completely cutting the trees,
Yeah. From a hinge cut or even just like the mineral, like cutting type stuff. Like I'm in the woods year round and it's a lot more enjoyable to be in the woods when it's cool outside.
Absolutely.
So it's a really good activity. Honestly, this time of year or even like December, January, February, kind of where you're on the tail end of deer season and you're looking for something to do or an excuse to get outside. That's normally when I do those activities. One, because it's a lot more enjoyable to either have an axe or a chainsaw in your hand and you're not sweating to death. So in my mind, that's normally when I perform those. Yeah. But you can put that into the springtime too, because those trees are starting to saporize and starting to get the juices flowing. So it's not too late right now. I mean, by any means, you can do it all the way into spring. Yeah. So.
Just some time when there's going to be new growth.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Absolutely.
Gotcha. Yeah, I got into some of that last year after you came and looked at our land. I had a lot of fun with that, trying to create some areas. It didn't work. I didn't kill anything, but it wasn't your fault. It's just probably my hunting skill more than anything. It's
a tool. It's a tool to put in the toolbox, just like fire is. There's again no silver bullet on that, but like on the hinge cutting or those type of things are to create either bedding or screening or staging or even influencing the flow of the deer. A lot of the time is if you strategically place that stuff on the landscape, you're inhibiting the deer from going where that tree is hinge cut and they're having to walk around it. Absolutely. So you're creating pinch points and stuff like that. So you can be strategic on stuff.
Yeah. I was listening to something the other day. They were talking about, getting in and out of the stand, even.
Absolutely.
Like being able to create a screen to be able to get in and out of the stand without being
detected.
Seen,
Absolutely.
And how a lot of times you see people put a tower stand in the middle of a field and it's great for an afternoon hunt to go. But then when you're getting down, like you're running everything out.
Yeah.
But being able to set up in a way that you can access it and get out without deer knowing you're there. So
absolutely.
So something I was thinking about doing this year is, last year we planted a mix that had some peas, some sunflower, some sorghum, some different things like that. And one of the things I noticed was the sorghum, it gets really tall. Mm-hmm. And it seems like to me, and this is more of a question than anything, but that can get so tall and sometimes so thick that it might choke out a little bit of the other stuff growing under it.
Yeah.
And so one of the ideas I had is, thinking about screening, thinking about creating maybe a more comfortable environment for the turkeys or deer, whatever is coming in there, is using the sorghum almost as a screening around the edge of plots 100%. And stuff like that, to let that grow up and leave that throughout the season. Mm-hmm. Whereas we may go in and plant something else, maybe September, early October, that's going to last through the winter.
That's right.
I don't know. Am I onto something?
No, you're absolutely right. I do that on a lot of clients' properties where I use a sorghum as almost like as an edge, like a soft edge. Yeah. So, you've basically got a stand of timber or a hardwood edge or whatever, and use that as a soft edge, meaning those deer and critters are using that as kind of a, if you've ever been in a deer stand, you've seen a deer before they stand out in a huge field, they're going to kind of sit there and check everything out. But that soft edge makes them feel comfortable where they'll still step out. Yeah, that's 100% a great kind of transition edge to use. So,
John, I had a good idea.
There it is.
Hey,
there it is.
Patent pending.
Let's write that down.
That's right.
Getting the day off to a good start.
That's right.
My goodness. So with everything we've talked about so far, I would say this: if you're listening and you're getting excited about burning something and you've never burned anything before, get somebody to help you that knows what they're doing. That's right. It's not that expensive to get somebody to come out and help. All right. I mean, bare minimum, contact the forestry office.
Yeah, forestry commission for sure is a great resource.
Get you a permit number.
Disclaimer: Bow Trader will not be held responsible for any structures that are burned down.
Yeah. Bow Trader and the Bow Trader podcast are not responsible for any of your stupidity. But all right, so we've talked through this. It sounds like having a plan is a really good idea.
1,000%.
Right? 1,000%. Looking at it as a whole, not just saying, I want to go out here and I want to burn this, or I want to mulch this over here, or I want to do some hinge cuts. Because I've seen people get freaking carried away with hinge cuts.
Oh, yeah.
You walk out to go to hunt with somebody, or they'll want us to come look at something for them. Like, hey, can you help us put a food plot in over here? And we'll go over and look at it, and I'll be like, hey, what
happened over here?
What happened right over there?
Yeah.
Well, we put some hinge cuts in.
Y'all got hit hard with that storm.
I was like, dude, you shouldn't cut everything.
Yeah. And I use hinge cut kind of sparingly just because that's a big term like in the Midwest, because they don't have markets out there for timber. Whereas here, like we can cut timber and get it gone. Yeah, you talk about a hinge cut is about one of the ugliest things you can see in the world. So
well, you're basically cutting a tree down, but saying, hang on, just hang in there, buddy, for as long as you can. I'm gonna leave you connected to this root.
No, getting back on it though, having a plan is 100% what you need to do. You don't need to do anything. Don't order your drip torch or get your fuel mixed up. I mean, you have to have a plan. Secondly, once you have that plan, establishing fire breaks is 100%.
That is part of the plan.
That is the plan. So
that is part of the plan.
Either you set up put a set of hairs on your tractor and you kind of 2-3 pass it and get it nice and bare soil, or again you reach out to your Georgia Forestry Commission, or if you have a forestry commission in the state, where you're listening, they have the resources and the ability to do it. It's a very affordable thing. It's an hourly rate, and honestly, for a dozer operation, it's a very affordable operation.
They used to charge by the mile.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's by the hour now.
Yeah, it's like here in Georgia, it's like $225 for the first hour, and that's a mobilization fee and everything, and then it's $140 or $150. Don't quote me on that, per hour post that first hour.
And y'all listen. In an hour, a lot of fire break can be laid down.
A lot of fire break.
I mean, because this dozer's going through, he's got a big V blade on the front, and he's got a plow on the back that's just throwing big berms on the side. Yep. You're essentially one pass and you've got a fire break.
Correct.
In most places. I mean, there's sometimes where you get into something where it's wet and he needs to hit it more than once, or some larger trees he's got to get pushed out of the way or something like that. But usually one pass and you're good.
It's game time. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's not like, don't hear us say, all right, you've got 225 for your first hour and then 140 or 170 or whatever it is for each additional hour. It's not like you're going to have them out there for 12 hours.
No.
They might be at your place for an hour and a half or 2 hours or 3 hours.
Just depending on the size. But and honestly, I mean, I use road when I've got clients and when I'm setting up tracks, I use my fire breaks are essentially an extension of a road system. Mm-hmm. And if you're wanting to add value to any property, being able to access parts, every bit of that track, roads are a huge asset. They can also, from a hunting standpoint, can hinder you because you want to access everything and blow everything out of the woods. But all things considered. I mean, fire breaks are essentially road systems for you. So fire breaks, huge part of that plan. Second is, we talked about it earlier, is weather conditions and timing, and not all of us can just Monday through Friday. We most of us are working and not able to do that. So you kind of limit yourself if you're a weekend warrior, and weather conditions are a huge thing you've got to pay attention to. Wind direction, wind speed, again, relative humidity. When was the last time it rained? If it's super dry, are you susceptible to banging up some trees that are going to, it's going to hinder you from adding value to your pocket down the road from a standpoint. So coming up with a plan, fire breaks, and then really looking at what your weather conditions are and if it's a good time to burn. There's a couple good resources that I use. There's a website called windfinder.com. I mean, and you type in your location, it gives you, and I don't know how they know, but like literally you could look up tomorrow's wind at 2 p.m. and it tells you the direction.
It's pretty accurate too.
In the winds. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's pretty
It's
accurate.
unbelievable. I literally, there's a time.
What's the name of that again?
I think it's windfinder.com.
Okay.
But I mean, literally you put a pin on where you're going to go, I thought this thing was, I mean, I knew it was good, but there was a day where I was burning, and I knew it was going to be a long day burning. It was a big track. That windfinder.com told me at 2 p.m. my wind was going to, from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. my wind was going to be coming out of the northwest at 6 to 7 miles an hour. It said at 2 p.m. my wind was going to shift out of the northeast. I was like, I mean, really? Like, is it going to do 180? Like, there's no way. Or sorry, not northeast. It was saying it was coming out of the southeast. So literally 180. And I was like, man, there's no way. Well, joke's on me. Joke's on me.
It turns a backfire
into head fire.
Yeah.
So there's some things you just got to kind of be cognizant of that, because wind is normally a thing that you and we wet our finger and stick our finger in the air. I mean, that's normally the strategy.
Dude, I'm checking the app. I've got like cottonweed.
Yeah, throw it in the air, same.
Because I always want to back burn. Always. Sure. I mean, there are times, like I burned in June a couple years ago.
That's right.
Because
you had a bunch of gallberry and stuff.
I was trying to kill gallberry and privet.
Yep.
And I wanted that fire hot. And I did a head fire, buddy. I mean, let me tell you
That's
something.
Fun.
It was
spicy.
My wife comes out on the front porch because it was close to the front of the house. I mean, 100 yards or better from the front of the house. And when that stuff starts hitting in June, I mean, it's white smoke,
it's like
and it's
jet
popping
fuel.
And everything. Yeah. And she comes outside. She's like, what is going on? Because she's used to me burning. It's always,
slow trickle,
real calm, and little small fires about 1.5 feet high, that are just kind of working their way across.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not this time. It still didn't kill a lot of it. I killed a lot of it, but not as good as I wanted to. And
it takes time.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff. The track I burnt 2 days ago, it was heavy gallberry, and we burn that track basically every year just because it's off a 15-mile creek, super fertile soil, and that stuff just grows like gangbusters.
Yep.
And I have to rip head fires through that just to get.
Oh yeah,
it
you
back.
have to try to kill that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to outside of that.
No, absolutely not.
But anyway, so having a plan.
Yep.
Having a long-term plan is better.
Absolutely. No doubt.
Not just going into it with, doing this for this year and then, everything's going to be great. I would say use mulching sparingly.
Yeah.
I love the way it makes it look.
Yeah.
But in my experience, where you mulch, and I've used mulching more than once, it makes it more difficult to burn
1,000%
afterwards.
Holds that moisture.
Yep.
And
Because you're mixing your fuel types when you do that, right? You're taking that big fuel and you're grinding it down and putting it down there with your small fuel, and it just chokes it all out,
does.
and it just becomes a wet mess, you know, and it takes years to get past that.
It does.
And that in and of itself is still good for the soil. You know, it as far as your larger trees go, but when you're doing what I'm wanting to do, and that's create a bunch of layers in the habitat for a lot of different critters, when you take that bottom layer and you put a mat over the top of it, it is very hard to get layers.
Yeah, no.
I mean, it's almost impossible.
It is.
Your trees look great.
So it might be good for like widening roads, stuff like that.
Yeah,
But
it has its purpose.
It has
for
its
sure.
purpose, but if what
From
you're
a
wanting
landscape
to do,
standpoint, yeah, it's not.
yeah,
not what you
if what you're wanting to do is create layers for your habitat, for your game, and that's what I'm after. You know, I mean, going out and eradicating bobcats and foxes and stuff like that is not the key to having a quail population. Giving quail natural habitat that th're able to go and hide from stuff in is the answer.
Yeah. Oh, 1,000%. All the research shows that is habitat management is the key to any successful wildlife plan. And just like John was saying, creating not only a plan, but executing that plan, creating habitat and improving that habitat gives does really good fawning habitat, not only from a food source, but an escape cover, a loafing area for poults, a brooding area for chicks.
It's so much more.
It's such a complex thing.
Yeah, there's so much more to it than just food.
Yeah.
You know, from a hunter standpoint, you're like, all right, we're going to put a food plot.
Yeah.
Well, dude, that's a
at the bottom of the rung.
little bit of the time that your animal needs
1,000%.
to stay alive.
Yeah.
The Lord's going to give them food.
Yeah.
Right. He's going to give them food. But if you want to keep that deer, you want to keep those turkeys, you want to keep those quail where you want them to be, give them a place to live.
Yeah, I think we've got a track that we hunt, and it's amazing that you would think it would hold deer because it does have laying and stuff like that, but the food sources just aren't there either. And so the time we see, we seldom get good deer on camera until the rut. And then they're cruising.
They're cruising.
Cruising, yeah.
And it just doesn't hold them. And so, you know, we've been trying to figure out how do we create a better habitat to that those deer stay there.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, you got to think about if you were living on the landscape, if you have somewhere to lay your head, you got water to drink and bathe, and you got a food source, you got the trifecta. And you got to think about this on a scale of not a human, what a human could survive on, but what a critter is going to live on, and not just a blip on the radar of just the fall hunting season. We're talking about through spring, through summer, through the transition of these seasons. So you got to think about that on the landscape side of things. So again, coming up with a game plan on that is crucial. When I do those, I mean, again, your first thing is really come up with what your goals are. If your goals are timber management, you're going to be more on the timber management focus, and you're going to want to allow those trees to do exactly what they need to do. If your goal is, I want to grow big deer, see deer, and have some turkeys, then that's your goal, and let you customize your
And you're
plan
going to
from
do
there.
some things differently.
You're going to absolutely do
I mean,
things
you're
different.
going. I'm just telling you, it's going to look a little bit differently
Absolutely.
if what your goal is to create habitat, wildlife habitat.
So let me throw another idea I've had.
sure.
This is always dangerous, but
Right back up.
So one of the things I think about too is so many people plant food plots to hunt over, right? And so, but my thing was this year is I was not as concerned to have a food plot to hunt over as I was to have good food plots when the season was over, because I'm thinking something for them to eat when everything else is gone.
1,000%.
So we had tons of acorns. We've got tons of ag, you know, and so if I'm planting a 1 acre food plot, that might be great. But when I've got 100 acre peanut field,
Yeah, peanuts or cotton. I mean,
you know, my 1 acre food plot is not making a huge difference at that point. But once those peanuts are gone,
Yep.
what are and I've got these different food plots around. To me, that was what I was going for more.
Absolutely.
Is what are they going to have to eat once everything else is gone? So
No, that's the way of doing it for sure. And we always think when we're walking the woods, we're like, man, acorns are something that can sustain these critters for a long period of time. Really, you think about it, they're falling on the ground, and as soon as they hit the ground, I mean, it's a short time horizon.
Yeah.
So like you're saying, looking at it on a landscape standpoint, we do have a pile of agriculture around here. Well, cotton's only malleable during the early season.
Yeah.
And you'll see deer in that,
They'll
in those
wear it
cotton,
out.
they just
Yeah.
wear it out. And the farmers just,
oh yeah,
yeah, they get after it. Peanuts the same way. Peanuts, deer get after it. Now, when they turn the peanuts, obviously there's going to be some eating of that, but for the most part, not really. Cotton, once they spray it and defoliate it, it's just a hard
There's
stick. They're
nothing
not going to
there,
eat
yeah.
it. But like you're saying, so those are things that we can depend on, or they can depend on certain times of year. But like you're saying, post that field getting harvested and it just being bare dirt or whatever is left over after the cotton's picked, you got to think about that on the
and
landscape standpoint.
some people were like, well, I mean, your food plots are just now really looking good. And I'm like, yeah, like that's what I was really
the goal.
wanting.
That was the goal.
Was, I mean, when they don't have anything, I want them there.
Yeah. The hard part too is, like, I think this last year we were texting, our dry season is October.
Oh gosh, man.
So like when we're supposed to be putting food plots in the ground, like the whole month of October this last year, like we didn't get a drop of rain.
Or we got 12 in 24 hours.
Yeah, so it was like the extreme. So most people either plant in September, they get excited for bow season, they're planting food plots, and then we literally had a month of zero rain, not a speck of rain. And then, the first rain we got was 12 to 15 inches, depending on where you were, and it's like, holy smokes.
And
can't win.
and we, me and one of my sons, we were going back and forth. He's like, we need to plant. And I'm like, no. And I mean, you could just kind of see it. And then we get the rain and it's like 12 inches. And he's like, I told you we needed to plant it. And I was like, dude, if we had planted that, we'd have one 10-foot radius that was incredible.
Yeah.
Because all that seed would have been
Just
right there,
thick.
Yeah. So, but it's hard to judge because, but I know just from years of watching it, we don't get rain in October.
We don't. We really don't.
I mean,
That's
it's
peanut
very,
harvest season, man.
It is.
yeah, it's very, very seldom that we have much rain in October.
Yeah.
So
That's why I focus on water sources in October for hunting deer.
I think that's smart,
Yeah,
man.
A
absolutely.
buck needs 6 liters of water a day, a mature buck,
Yeah.
pre-rut. So
There it is.
That's why he killed that buck in
that's
October.
where I killed that
That's a
buck in
wealth of
October.
knowledge.
That is.
right there.
That joker dropped him in the creek.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
That is.
Yeah,
Hunt water sources.
yeah, for sure.
You killed your deer
Yep.
October 29th.
Mm-hmm.
What was that? 22
Mm-hmm.
yards from a creek?
It also, our rut here is between October 20th to the 30th of October for the most part.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's a lot earlier than a lot of people think
It is. It
Oh, yeah.
is. So again, they're needing some water because they're running laps.
Well, and
But,
people will come in November talking about the rut, and I'm like, dude, you're seeing some secondary
post-
stuff.
that's post- yeah.
you're seeing
That's the
some
second cycle.
You're seeing some idiots running around being like, I think this girl's still hot, but nah.
Yeah, I think what happens, you do hear of a lot of big deer being killed the first, maybe second week in November, but I honestly think what happens is a lot of those does get bred, and those bucks are traveling more.
They are.
To try to find one, like you said. John,
I think,
it's like-
and I think part of it is it's cooling off, and people are hunting more.
that's right.
They're
in the woods more.
So
100%.
A mature buck, he's going to find his little area, his little honey hole. He's going to stay there with his does. So you got to find that and then find his food source, get in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the ones that you're seeing traveling are younger. They're younger bucks,
Right.
right?
They
And the
don't
ones
have
and the
a
ones
set
that
of
are the
does.
ones that are breeding more, are going to be 2.5 to 3.5 year old bucks.
Right.
It's not your 5.5, 6.5, 7-year-old bucks
No,
that
they're
are
old,
breeding
frail,
that
they're done.
often.
Yeah.
I mean, they're still breeding, but I mean, it's they got some does that they're friends with that the does come to them.
That's right.
What's up, girl?
Yeah, that's right. Ladies.
You know, but I mean, anyway, I don't know how that whole conversation goes, but anyway. But all right, so we've got this. What we've talked about this morning is that when we're looking at land management practices, the key to any of it is having a plan. Period. I mean, and that's why I think having a good forester is such a good idea. That's a shameless plug for Jase.
Appreciate you.
All right, but
Called Brooks Land Management.
And timber. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's
right.
it. But I mean, seriously, I think if you're going to do something, if you can have a good forester that is willing to, look at whatever your goal is and help build a program, build a plan around that goal, then that's what you need to be able to get somewhere. And I think it's critically important for us as well, from a vertical, from a spiritual standpoint, that we have a game plan.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, Brandon, you teach every week, and your goal every week is to help people grow closer to Jesus.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you may be talking about different parts of the Bible each week, but you have a plan of what you're doing, right? You never wake up on Sunday morning and you're like, well, I don't know what I'm going to teach on today, but here we go, boys.
No, I'd never do that.
Apparently he does do that.
Well, I will say this: it's not intentional.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just sometimes you pray, read, study, and the Lord just decides, hey, I'm going to give it to you at 8:55 when you're going out there at 9. So
you never argue with the Lord.
That's
Actually,
right.
we do argue with the Lord a lot, but I mean, so when I'm looking at not from a leading standpoint, but from my own personal spiritual growth, I want to be doing things every day intentionally to grow closer to God. And what I mean by that is I want to know more about his character. I want to know who God is as best as I can, because he's holy and is set apart from me, but he doesn't hide who he is from me. Right. That's the coolest part about the God that we serve, the creator God of the universe, is he wants a relationship with us. So I want to do something every single day intentionally to grow closer to him. And part of that is having a plan when I go to open his word.
yeah,
I mean, I know over the course of a year, I'm going to read the book of Proverbs 12 times, right? Because there's 31 chapters
there's a
in
lot
Proverbs.
in there, man.
There's 31 chapters in Proverbs, and there's most months have 31 days. And so I can read a chapter a day and go through the book of Proverbs
Yeah,
every month.
Can you recite the book of Proverbs? Oh, that'd be kind of cool. What a flex.
Yeah,
That'd be strong.
that would have been better than Smokey the Bear's.
Yes,
for
right.
sure.
Yeah, that would definitely be a play. I do go through and memorize scripture, and I think it's important to do that. But large swaths, I'm not good at it.
And a lot of
Wish
the
I was.
scripture that I have stored is just from repetitive reading.
Yeah.
It's not, and there's nothing wrong with this, and I would encourage this. A lot of people will write down a verse on an index card, put it on their dash, and for that week or whatever, that's the scripture they're memorizing. I think that's a great idea. But just like repetitive reading is where a lot of that comes from, is just being in it, But I think the plan is so valuable, and we have, and Jase was talking about this earlier. I don't think we were recording yet, but we have what's called a 4:12 reading plan. Comes out of Hebrews 4:12 that God's word is living and active, sharper than a double-edged sword. That passage, and so it comes out of that, and so we lay out a year-long reading plan for folks to go by, and but then too, if you're out there and you don't have one, you can go online and find all kinds of reading plans,
1,000%.
or download the Bible.
Yeah,
The
Bible,
the U version Bible app, and it's got all the different translations. It's got hundreds of reading plans that if, you want to read something and have a reading plan based off of, anxiety or biblical manhood or whatever, they're there and you can find them. But it's almost like that thing of, if you, y'all help me with this quote, but it's like if failure to plan is planning to fail, or y'all know what I'm talking about.
That sounds about right.
We'll go with that. Yeah. A wise man once said,
that's right.
It wasn't me.
I just heard it.
Anonymous quote.
Anonymous quote. It kind of goes like this. You say so-and-so, as so-and-so said, and then you say, I've heard it said, and then you say, as I always say.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
That's kind of you just kind of start owning it. You know what I mean?
You just adopted it.
Yeah,
That's
at some
right.
point it
That's
becomes
right.
yours.
I love it.
Everybody else knows it was George Washington.
That's
but
right.
You just think he came up with it.
Yeah, we're talking about a plan that the 412 reading plan's one that I go off of as well. But just like Brandon was saying, I'm on the road a lot, so I have the Bible app, and like this year, I told myself I'm going to go through the entire Bible. And again, there's a plan for that. I think of the 365 days, I think the plan is like 340 days, but it reminds you. You can set up a timer and it'll remind you. And so for me, like right now, I'm working through the Bible front to back, and so while I'm on the road, I let that thing play.
Yep.
Tell me why you want to do that.
Say that again.
Why do you want to do that? Why do you want to go through the Bible front?
Well, for me, like I haven't done it front to back.
Okay.
So for me, it's just something that I would really like to do. In the 412 reading plan right now, we're reading in the book of Acts, and there is a lot of prophecies that are fulfilled. So for me, going front to back allows me to remind myself of Old Testament,
See the sweeping
story, seeing the whole story front to back. And so for me, it really helps me build my faith and build just knowledge as a believer. It allows me to connect the dots and really just make my faith that much more concrete. So
yeah, I love when you go through Old Testament, you see things, but then you go back to the New Testament where there's Peter standing up on the day of Pentecost and he's preaching this message and he's saying, he's basically saying this is that.
Right.
Yeah. He's going, you remember when God promised to pour out his Spirit? Mm-hmm. And one of the most humorous things in that whole day of Pentecost is they're saying they're drunk because they're speaking in tongues. And Peter's defense of them not being drunk is not because, guys, y'all know we don't drink. He's like, look, guys, it's 9:00 in the morning.
It's too early.
He's like, it's 9:00 in the morning. I mean, maybe at 3.
Yeah, maybe at 3.
But right now it's not. I just probably made somebody mad. But anyway,
he was being very practical.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like, guys,
come on, it's 9 in the morning.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
They're not just speaking, in gibberish.
Yeah,
everybody can understand, right?
Yeah.
From all nations.
Yeah,
like,
so, I mean, it's that is. We won't go down that road this morning about the whole speaking in tongues thing and all that. That is a
you open up a big door.
Big
can.
But it's extremely interesting to see, how that whole thing plays out, how that prophecy in the Old Testament plays out in the New Testament.
I just love that so much.
You've heard it described before that these prophets. It's almost like they were. It's almost like if you look at across a mountain range and you're looking at the tops of the ridges, they look very close together.
Yeah.
But actually, to get from the top of this ridge to the top of that ridge, it might take a 20-mile walk.
Right.
Right. So when you're looking at the idea of biblical prophecy, it looks like these things are going to be, real close together.
Yeah.
But they're not.
They're not.
Oh yeah. Well, you read.
Much time between them.
Yeah, you read even like the book of Daniel, or you read Exodus, or whatever it might be. you read Genesis and the life of Joseph, and it seems like these incredible things are just happening day after day after day after day after day, but they're years apart. And so I think sometimes in our life we're like, well, I don't feel like God's doing anything. Yeah, well, it's like
that again. That's our timing and not God's timing. We absolutely.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about reading scripture, and it takes endurance in the word. It takes perseverance to just be steadfast in reading, but it's almost like this is the way I describe it. If you stay in it long enough and you read the spectrum of scripture, like you're talking about, Jase, and you get a picture of the whole story, 66 books that tell one story, what begins to happen after a certain amount of time is it's like the dividers begin to come out of the Bible.
Absolutely.
And it all begins to connect. But it takes time in the Word to begin to be able to see that. But when that begins to happen, it becomes so exciting. Because when you first start reading the Bible, I know for me at least, it felt like there were a lot of disjointed comments. It's like you've got this over here, and then you got this over here, and I'm like, why are they killing everything? Like, I don't get it. I mean, did they just why? And
Reading
then,
Leviticus?
Yeah, like Leviticus, or, and you get into all of that, and you're like, why? But then as you study more, you read more, you spend more time with God, the dividers start coming out, and all of those things start connecting, and all of a sudden the light bulb starts going off, and you're like, oh my gosh. Like, this is written over thousands of years, hundreds and hundreds of years, and it all connects seamlessly. And that's when you go, this book really is divine,
1,000%.
So it's pretty cool.
So you said what you are using is called the 412 reading plan. And that's something y'all put together.
Yeah, it's on our website if somebody wanted to go get it. Yeah,
right.
Just under resources.
Dub, what you've been using something. Is that something that you were looking at through Right Now Media?
Yes.
Okay, tell us about what you were going through.
I'm Not a Fan by Kyle Ottoman, little series he put together.
Yeah, it's a great book.
All right. So tell us about it. Let's hear it. You told me it was so good the other day you watched every single one of them. You couldn't stop watching it.
Not in one day.
Not in one day. Tell us about it. Let's hear it.
What
is it about?
Being a follower, not a fan of Jesus.
Okay. All right.
What's the difference?
Yeah, what is the difference?
A fan shows up at church on Sundays and maybe Wednesdays and just praises and leaves. A follower spends time in the Word and prays and all that stuff.
It's good.
7 days a week, not just checking the box. Like, that's something we get in the rut of checking the box and doing our saintly duty of showing up, but not, again, I always look at it this way. If I'm obviously in a relationship with my wife, I'm married to my wife, but that's right. But I'm just saying, and he loves her. I do. I love her very, very
His
much.
family's awesome. I will say that.
I'm very blessed. But if I'm wanting to sustain a relationship with my wife and I don't talk to my wife for a week,
that's a bad move.
That's not a relationship. That's no longer something that's taking place. So you look at that from a spiritual standpoint. I always point to this as, if I don't pray or get in the Word of God for a week or 3 or 4 days, that's equivalent to you not having a conversation. You're not connecting. You're not building on that relationship. So it's not there.
100%. Relationship requires time together.
That's it. Communication and
love, affection towards one another. Those kind of things. I mean, obedience. Yeah. When basically do what she says. Just like with God.
There needs to be obedience in your relationship with your wife, right? And that needs to be reciprocal obedience. Where y'all have things that are, all right, this is my responsibility. I'm going to take care of this, and I'm going to be obedient to this responsibility. Right?
Yep,
and
that's it.
The same thing with your wife, and it's not some kind of taskmaster, domineering relationship thing. It's that the two of you are going through life to help each other.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
That's the whole point.
Yeah. And the whole thing of even submission it gets such a bad rap, where if you look at how abuse has taken place through the word submission, it's no wonder that when women today hear, wives, submit to your husband, it's like, I ain't submitting, like, because it's been abused so much. But the way God designed it is really a beautiful thing.
It's the Smokey Bear effect, man.
Yeah, it really is. Dang, Smokey.
Dang.
And
come full circle.
It's changing the perception of what it is.
Yes, and it's I wrote one book that was a raving success. Bestseller, New York Times, actually. Right. But I had another book on my heart that I really would like to write, and it would be something to do with deconstructing our faith is a big thing right now, right? People are deconstructing their faith. They're walking away from Christianity. But I'd like to write something along the lines of deconstructing an unbiblical worldview. Because what the world's done is it's created a worldview for us that does not line up with Scripture. And so even when it comes to submission, we have this unbiblical understanding of submission. And, for a wife to be submissive to her husband, first of all, we got to back up and read Ephesians 5, like 20 and 21, where it says, be submissive to one another. And so, and then if you look at it.
And then look at what it says calls the husband to do.
Yes, love your wife. So it gives like one or two sentences to the wife, and then it's like, all right, husbands, take that, multiply that by 10,
and live that out daily.
Yeah, and it's like, so really and truthfully, if we're living a life in Christ, most women are going to like that.
Yeah,
most women are going to be like, women want a man who loves them like Jesus. And they may not know it because they may not have ever seen it.
Yeah, that's true.
Sure. 1,000%.
That's really good, man. So I've always wondered what that book, not a fan. I've always wondered. I've never read it. Sorry, Kyle. He's listening.
Yeah, Kyle. But we did give you a plug, and the millions of listeners.
1 or 2.
Yeah, you're going to sell 2 books, Kyle.
That's right.
Anyway, I've always wondered, what that. I've heard a lot of quotes from that book and everything. I've always wondered what it was.
Yeah, Dr. John quotes that book a lot.
He quotes it a lot. Yeah. I've heard it in some other places and stuff like that on podcasts and stuff. So, but yeah, I think we guys love to talk about having a plan to do stuff outside.
1,000%.
Whether it's burning or managing land or getting their boat ready to go fishing.
That's
or
right.
whatever. And I just
shooting your bow consistently.
Yeah. I don't like talking about that.
I was about to say.
It's just not as fun.
Never get a bow. I'm sorry. Did I say that? I'm sorry. My gosh.
Shots fired.
Brandon is so thankful he's had the opportunity to be on the Bow Trader podcast, and unfortunately today is his last day. And but we're gonna pretend that we miss him, and just working to have that plan for all those things that are fun. Working to have a plan for. I talk about it so often. I think the vertical part of our lives is a part that we just consistently neglect.
Yeah.
And I don't think we intentionally neglect it. Like I don't think it's an intentional, I don't really care about my relationship with God. I mean, sometimes maybe it is, because sometimes people, will just have a warped view about what being in a relationship with the Lord is, what Christianity is, and feel like, okay, well, I've secured salvation. I'm good. I don't have to worry about anything else. Right. And that, to me, that couldn't be any further from the truth.
Yeah. And you think about what it shows about the importance of it to us, because when we get busy, what's typically the first thing to go is our time with the Lord. And I even think about, like, in finances, a bank is going to be more reluctant to loan you money to go buy a jet ski than a house. And the reason for that is they're pretty confident you're going to want to keep your house, but you might be willing to just let that jet ski go, and for us, like, what's more important, like our time with God or going and doing other things, or, you know what I mean? Like, it's the priority of what is important. And for me, I mean, honestly, if you look at what I do, I have the luxury of my job puts me in the Word, right? And you always hear the danger for pastors is just going to the Word to get a message. But you teach Sunday school. You could do the same thing. Is I'm just going to the Bible. You lead a small group, So you could just be going to the Bible to get a lesson, just to get something. But for me, what I find is even when I'm preparing a message, it is an opportunity for me to go to the Word and say, God, what are you teaching me? Because what I want to teach is I want to go teach people what I'm learning. I don't want it just to be head knowledge. I want it to be something that God has put this in my heart, and this is something I have to say, or it's going to just eat me alive, And so I think for me, that's an opportunity that I have on a daily basis. But I know before I was in ministry, like, it was just something. It's almost like working out. If you're going to stay fit, you got to show up every day. And you don't have to show up tomorrow because you can't. You just show up today. And I think it's the same thing with God's Word. If we're going to really grow and know, and not have something else to do, but because Jesus is someone to know, but it takes that consistency and showing up every day.
Yeah, and we're called to make disciples of all nations, and we all have our own platforms and sphere of influence. And if we're not in the Word, something's pulling at us or taking our attention. So something I always look at, we're talking about planting. I mean, and preparing the soil for the critters. But for us, I mean, Brandon preaching on a Sunday, he's speaking on what the Lord's doing in his heart. And it's not that everyone has to come to Christ off that message. What he's simply doing is sowing seed. And if that person is changed and has a heart change, they're going to have some water. They're going to have some brothers and sisters in Christ that are going to pour into them and water that seed and water that seed. And then there will be a time where they come to the realization of, wow, this is real, and this is what I want. And I think that's something we have to remind ourselves too, is like, this is bigger than ourselves. Like, and it's hard to remember because we are a selfish creature. And so really thinking about it from that perspective as well is something I have to remind myself daily, because you start getting in your own head and thinking about yourself and yourself only. And again, this isn't about us. This is about furthering the kingdom in some capacity. So that's something I always have to remind myself. And it's, again, we're not called to make everyone a believer, but we are called to share the Word and to be a believer and to live a life that exemplifies that. And just planting seeds. And who knows, it could be a month, it could be 20 years down the road, but that seed could stay dormant in that soil, and just the right amount of water will germinate that thing.
And the thing that I remind people of all the time is that you may never get to see that harvest.
No.
Yeah.
And you gotta be cool with that.
Oh, 1,000%.
But having the confidence of knowing that Scripture's true, and that Galatians tells us in Galatians 6:9 that if we do not grow weary in doing good, in due season we will see a harvest. It might not be the harvest that we're looking for, because I know when I got saved, I wanted to see all my friends get saved. Didn't happen a lot, but other people did. So there was this harvest that was taking place because God's faithfulness in His Word, and there's that anointing, the power of the Holy Spirit on His Word. That is why the Scripture can tell us that it never returns void, but it's going to accomplish the purpose. It is divine in nature. It's God-breathed. It emanates from Him Himself, and he is going to do through it what he wants to do. And that, for me, as someone who communicates, does their best to communicate God's word every week, like that is something that is immensely comforting, is to realize it's not about me. Mm-hmm. It's about what God's going to do.
And it's not about you living a perfect life either.
If it was about that,
be tough.
You know?
yeah.
I mean, we can't live perfect lives. And that's something that I'm transparent with folks that I'm in a leadership role with, you know, about. I may be teaching through something. We may get to something in the study that we're going through, and I'll just be honest with them. You know, y'all listen, this is something I struggle with, you know, and it's not that I'm intentionally, you know, want to say, you know, this is wrong. This shouldn't be something that we are even having to talk about. No, this is legit. And I struggle with this, you know, because sometimes people piss me off. You know,
100%.
Most of the time it's me.
Were you there Sunday?
Oh, 1,000%.
Yeah,
Yes,
you heard my story about going to the store that I won't name.
It was the most relatable thing because literally later that day I was at that store and I was dying laughing internally because I was like, man, I experience this every time I come in here. Yeah. And I was remodeling 2 houses this time last year, and I literally felt I was living through you because I was like, man, I experience that every other day.
And I say that because of you know, being transparent in the fact that we do all have our moments of anger, you know, and I definitely had a couple the past 2 Saturdays at a particular store that will remain nameless. Yes. And so, but anyway, no, but I think the plan is so big, and this is the last thing I guess I'll say is remember that executing the plan is a means to the end. It's not the end.
And remember what the goal is.
The goal is to be with the Lord.
The goal is not to be smarter about the Bible. The goal is not to be able to say, hey, I read my Bible today.
Yes.
You know, so you can, you know, boast about that to somebody. The goal is not to be able to check that box, you know, where you've got, I'm not a type A person or would, you know, be considered a type A person. So I don't have a weekly to-do list, you know, with check boxes on every day. There's no box for me to check, but for some people I know they have that, right? And if you don't get all your boxes checked for the day, God bless you.
I'm that. I'm the same
if you don't
way.
get all your boxes checked for the day, you feel like you didn't accomplish it, right?
Yeah. You're on there, Jase.
Nice.
Yeah, you're on there. Yeah.
Love that. Made the list. I'm that person. I have exactly what Brandon just showed, a list of line items for the day. And if I don't accomplish all of those, like I kind of kick myself of like, did I do the best that I can?
Yeah.
But so it would have been really easy for you to respond to that email with 5 bullet points.
I'd have had 30.
Yeah. Overachiever.
I mean,
which email would we be referring to?
well, good thing
would
is
we be speaking of Doge?
Yeah, we're not. Fortunately, I don't think any of us are government employees. But if we were,
we might have been a government employee.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff.
Yeah, it's
Did they let Smokey the Bear go?
Probably. I'm pretty sure he didn't reply to the email.
No, absolutely not. Yeah.
Oh,
be gone.
Right,
be
so
gone. Be gone.
All right, so we picked on our government local this morning.
We're gonna get a cease and desist.
No, it's fine. We're not.
No one would know.
But if you're on Instagram, go follow the National Park Service.
Oh my gosh.
Instagram page, because whoever runs that account is hilarious. They write some of the funniest crap.
They do.
So if you're on Instagram or where, you know, maybe Facebook too, but I know for sure on Instagram, go follow that page because it is hilarious. So there, I was nice to our government.
Yeah, give them a plug.
I had something nice to say about it.
For sure.
That's like the only nice.
Yeah.
So you said go follow Crooked Barrel.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Is
right.
that what you said? That's what I heard.
Tell everybody to do that in the the podcast that dropped this week.
Did you?
Oh, word.
Man, that's kind. I didn't hear that when I listened to it, but I'll take your word for it because I know you're an honest
The
man.
link is in there, man.
Cool.
Is in there. Listen, you had the opportunity to plug yourself while we were doing it.
Well, I'm just.
You reserved your right to do that until today.
Until
Well,
today.
So Instagram.com/crooked_barrel.
It's something like that.
That is what it is because I wrote
don't
it out
know.
yesterday.
I don't know.
That's what it is. Or you can follow Jase.
That's right.
Brooks.
I got Brooks Land and Timber, and then my personal account is just Jase Brooks 34.
Jase Brooks, Jase.
Is that still how you sign your autograph?
It is. It is. I still sign the autograph.
mean-
the 3-4. You gotta represent a little bit.
Old Dub over here, he is not on Instagram.
It's all good. It's okay.
Yeah,
You're not missing much.
If I was on Instagram, it'd just be headshots of deer,
Boom, headshots. Boom.
turkeys.
#headshot.
Yep. Shooting the head off a dove at like 40 yards off a power line.
Heck yeah.
Now he's dreaming.
I'm just impressed with the headshot.
About not shooting off power lines.
Yeah.
Apparently, it had become a thing.
It's all-
George Power was mad about it.
It's all a myth.
Perfect. All right, we'll wrap it up there. It was a great conversation.
That was fun.
Yeah,
Thanks,
that
Jase.
Appreciate you being here.
No, absolutely.
And,
Hopefully, it wasn't too much word vomit for
No,
everyone.
man, I just want to say I appreciate you, man. I
Absolutely.
appreciate your family and
Appreciate it, yeah.
all y'all mean to me and my family.
For
so
sure.
thank you.
No, appreciate you, and appreciate you having me. It's always a good time, and I love y'all. Appreciate it.
Love you, brother.
Go burn something.
Yeah, going to.
Kill it. Thanks for joining us on the podcast today. I hope you enjoyed listening. Hey, reach out to us and let us know what you want to hear about. Join the conversation online. Hop over on your favorite social channel and give us some comments. Shoot us an email. You can email us at podcast@bowtreader.com. That's BOWTREADER.com. We'd love to hear from you. Love to hear about maybe if you want to come join us on the podcast or any kind of topics that you want us to cover, regardless of what it is. If it's hunting related, something that's specific to bows or arrows, new gear, old gear, if you got any kind of spiritual questions, anything about your faith that you're interested in, reach out to us and let us know. We'd love to cover it for you. And thank you again so much for listening. God bless you.